Okay, let's dive into this. Today, we're unpacking a really brilliant story about patience, hidden growth, and the true nature of success. If you've ever felt like you're putting in all the work but seeing literally zero results, well, you are in the exact right place. So, why is it that some people just seem to succeed instantly, while the rest of us are left waiting for years? It's this massive modern anxiety we all face, right? You look around, and someone your age is already experiencing huge success, while you're still just trying to get your momentum going. Well, today, we're going to solve this mystery using a classic, deeply insightful parable.
All right, section 1. 2 seeds, 1 challenge.
So, here's the setup. Picture a small village. There's this farmer with 2 teenage sons, probably around 13 or 14 years old, and they really loved working out in the fields with their dad. One crisp morning, the farmer calls his boys over and hands them each a single mystery seed.
He gives them a super simple instruction. He says, plant this, take good care of it, and let's just see what happens. Naturally, both boys were absolutely thrilled. They excitedly grabbed their seeds, prepped a little patch of soil, dug into the earth, and planted them so carefully. And that kicked off their daily routine of enthusiastically watering their little patches of dirt.
Which brings us to section 2, waiting and disappointment. Now, what's really interesting here is the stark contrast in how they handled the wait. The first son, frantic, totally frantic. He's checking his seed every single morning and evening, expecting daily results. Actually, at one point, he even dug up the soil just to make sure the seed was still there. He was driving himself completely crazy. But the second son, totally calm. He just quietly watered his patch every day, trusting the process without rushing a thing. The timeline here perfectly captures that excruciating agony of waiting. A whole week goes by, nothing. 2 weeks pass, and the first son just completely loses hope, whining to his dad that his seed must be a bad one. But then, literally a few days later, the second son joyfully shouts, a tiny green sprout has actually broken through his soil. As crowds are gathering around his brother's brand new plant, the first son is just utterly crushed. The only thought consuming him was, I am working just as hard, so why on earth isn't my seed growing? Think about how universal that feeling is. You know, you put in the exact same effort, you show up every single day, and you see absolutely zero returns, while everyone around you is popping champagne for their big wins. But the father steps in with some really reassuring advice. He says, keep working. Some seeds take a little more time. Just keep watering. And even though the first son desperately wanted to quit, and I mean, he genuinely considered giving up completely, he somehow found the willpower to just keep watering his seemingly empty patch of dirt every single day. So that brings us to a huge question that I really want you to think about. Why did that first plant take so much time? I mean, the soil was identical, the water was identical, the effort was exactly the same, so what in the world was happening underneath all that dirt?
Let's get into section 3, the secret of the mango and the apple.
So weeks turn into months. The second son's plant is getting greener and leafier every single day. But then, right at the 2-month mark, the first son goes out for his usual watering, and bam, there it is. A green sprout has finally pierced the soil. He screams for his dad, totally overjoyed. But the real shock hits over the next few weeks. The first son's plant experiences this explosive, rapid growth that completely changes the game. And this brilliantly illustrates the twist. The first son's plant didn't just grow, it completely dwarfed his brother's plant. We're talking a thick trunk, massive leaves, and it soon bore these large, sweet mangoes. The second son's plant, on the other hand, stayed much smaller and grew apples. The father just smiled and finally revealed the secret. They were never given the same seeds to begin with. One was an apple and the other was a mango. Here's the actual biological truth behind the parable, what we can call underground incubation. See, a mango tree takes significantly longer to sprout because it has to first build massive, incredibly strong roots deep beneath the soil. It's heavy, serious growth that absolutely requires an unseen foundation. The apple seed sprouts quickly, sure, but it doesn't need that same deep structural base. So while the dirt looked totally empty to that first son, a colossal amount of work was actually happening underground for that mango tree.
Moving into section 4, 3 lessons of life.
The father tells his sons something so profound. He says, when you saw your brother's plant, you felt left behind. But you weren't behind. Your journey was just different. I want you to really let that sink in for a second. How many times have you felt left behind this year alone? The honest truth is, you aren't behind at all. You were just on a completely different timeline.
Let's break down this core wisdom into 3 really clear, actionable steps. First up, never compare your journey. Seriously, everyone's destination is totally different. Second, understand that big things appear late. Invisible progress is still progress. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean your roots aren't growing. And third, consistency is absolutely mandatory. Think about it. If that boy had stopped watering his empty patch of dirt, that massive mango tree would have died before it ever even saw the sun.
So the crucial point here is how this completely dismantles what I like to call the social media illusion. You know how it is. We open our apps and bam, friends are getting jobs instantly, peers are starting businesses, clearing major exams. Meanwhile, you might feel like you're completely stuck in the exact same place. But what if they are just growing apples and you are growing a mango? We cause ourselves so much unnecessary pain by forgetting that our own roots are currently growing underground.
Which brings us to our final, punchy takeaway. Never, ever compare your Chapter 1 to someone else's Chapter 10. Be patient, be incredibly grateful for your unique path, and relentlessly keep watering your own seed. The next time you feel like you're falling behind, I want you to ask yourself, are they just growing apples while I'm quietly building the roots for a mango tree? Keep growing, keep watering, and I will catch you on the next explainer.